start recording.
Is that fucking cool or what? Just out of curiosity, who here is seeing the film for the first time tonight? Yeah! Couple people? Oh, more than I thought. Right on. It's a good crowd. So, got Mr. Thomas Waite. Let's give it up. Alright, we'll take some questions from the audience shortly, but let's just get things rolling with the, start at the beginning. How did you get involved with the film?
Well, I auditioned for the movie. And it's interesting because at the time I was doing a play off Broadway with Al Pacino called American Buffalo. And it was a very popular play, and, you know, Kurt Russell had come to see it. And I think he may have mentioned my name to John and said, you know, you should see this guy. And I went in. It was very interesting because I usually prepare rather extensively for every audition. But this I looked at as the thing, science fiction. To me, it's never going to happen. I'm not even going to look at the freaking thing. You know? So I showed up at the audition, and there I was, and I was reading. And I don't even think I got home on the subway. And they called my agent and said, you know, we want him to do this. And it meant that I had to get out of the play that I was in. And I'm really glad that I did, because it ended up being a great experience. So, but it was one of those stories. It was one of those things where your mind decides this is not going to work. Like a relationship, you know, you meet a girl, and it's never going to happen, and then you're married. You know?
And you were a working actor, obviously, before the film, and you've been a working actor since the film. But you've also got some other things on the go as well in New York. Why don't you tell us a little bit about what life's been like since the thing?
Well, it was funny, you know, watching it, because it was 26 years ago. Who's that little boy? Yeah, you know, I make my living as an actor, a director, a writer, a teacher, and I also write songs. And, I guess most recently, I've been doing a lot of teaching. I have my own acting studio at thomasgwaits.com. You can go to it and check that out. I teach in New York City. And I've done a lot of Law and Orders. You know, that's one of the few TV shows that is still going in New York. I also wrote a play, a musical, which I optioned for Broadway. And so we're trying to get that going. Thank you very much. It's called Memorabilia. I hope it gets out there at Broadway soon. And, you know, Monday I have a call back for a play in St. Louis, so that's my life, you know. I live the life of an artist. You know, I never know if I'm going to make, you know, $100,000 a year or $5,000 a year. I have no idea. It depends on me and my focus and my ability to create my reality, you know, a day at a time.
And I think everyone here should be exceptionally thankful for the show Law and Order, because it was a close call getting Thomas here today. I got a call last night where he informed me that his passport had expired, and he had a flight to catch today. But, being the dedicated guy that he is, he jumped through hoops and got himself here. But you got to tell him the story about how that all came about and how you managed to get a passport and get to the airport on time.
I called this girl that I'm seeing, and she said, well, you have everything ready? I'm like, yeah, because I'm a light packer. And you have your passport? I said, sure. March of 08, has that passed yet? Yeah, it's passed. So I went into a panic, and I got to the post office this morning, and they said you have to go to the passport office, which is the other side of town, downtown. I got there, they said, this is not going to happen. You know, you're not going to get there today. Just resign yourself to that fact. okay. Then I go to the next window and it's a black woman. And she's like, and I said, I have a problem, a really big, what's your problem, honey? I said, my passport expired, I have to get to Toronto, I have to get there. And she goes, hold on. And this Asian guy comes up, and thank God for blacks and Asians. This Asian guy comes up and he goes, I just saw you on Law and Order the other night. Can I have your autograph? I said, sure. I had my passport 10 minutes later.
All right, so during the course of this shoot, you guys were under some interesting conditions, weather-wise, and in terms of working with special effects and a large cast. I'd like to get a few impressions of, just how difficult the shoot was. What was it like being out there in Stewart, BC, and making this movie?
Well, it's a funny thing about pain. You forget, after it's gone, you don't feel anymore. And I was watching tonight, and I had this sensory recall of just how freezing, bitter, ice cold it was out there. Now, come on, let's be fair. Most of it was shot on a soundstage in Los Angeles, where we were sitting in the parking lot smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee. But the few weeks that we were in Hyder, Alaska, and Stewart, it was bitterly cold, like your nostrils freeze up. You can't breathe, you can't see. It freezes the water in your eyes. And how the crew toughed it out is, really a testimony to John Carpenter. And the one quick story I want to tell you, it's the most impressive story, I think, of the whole shoot. We had to fly into Anchorage from Los Angeles, right? So we get to Anchorage and we have to take a bus out to Hyder, Alaska, which is on the border of British Columbia. And it was the crew and the cast on this bus. And we're all like drinking and partying, it's a big party. We're in a bus, it's like school. And we go through a blizzard. And this was a fierce, serious blizzard. It was impossible to see 10 feet in front of you after a while. And we're driving on these mountains. You look down and there's nothing down there. I mean, it's rocks as far as the eye can see. So we're driving, all of a sudden the bus slides off the road. So here we are, check this out, a bus full of actors and a crew hanging over the edge of a mountain. And we're like, hi. So Kurt Russell kind of takes over and becomes McCready. He's like, okay, everybody, sit still, don't move. We're all sitting there. And then he's like, one at a time, starting from the front of the bus, get off. And of course, I was in the back of the bus. Like windows, I was like, so we get off one at a time, we push the bus back on the road, and we drive all night until we get to our destination. And there, it was 5 o'clock in the morning, is John Carpenter, having no idea, this is before cell phones, no idea what we'd gone through. He was just waiting for his men. And he stood there in the freezing cold. The bus pulls up. He shakes each one of our hands as we step off the bus. And I thought to myself, that's character. They say a good director